Welcome to our channel. Today we will look at 80 rarest pictures from the Second World War. Write in comments which photo you liked the most. A US soldier stands amidst the rubble of the monument of the Battle of the Nations in Leipzig after American forces captured the city. This grand structure, commemorating Napoleon's defeat in 1813, was the last stronghold in Leipzig, held by 150 SS troops determined to resist until they were forced to surrender. General Bernard Montgomery, commander of the British Eighth Army, observes the battle in Egypt's western desert from the turret of an M3 Grant tank. Montgomery's leadership was instrumental in the successful campaign against Axis forces in North Africa, particularly during the pivotal Battle of El Alamein. US soldiers are seen marching past the Roman Colosseum in pursuit of retreating Axis forces, marking the liberation of Rome. This image signifies the symbolic and strategic importance of capturing the Italian capital during the Allied advance in Europe. In this image from a factory in Japan, women meticulously examine empty shell casings for flaws. As World War II intensified, Japan increasingly relied on female labor to support its war effort. These women became an essential part of the country's industrial workforce, contributing to munitions production and other vital war industries. A German officer, surrounded by the ruins of Saarbrücken, eats sea rations as the war comes to an end. The city, located along the Siegfried Line, was a key defensive position for Nazi Germany, but it fell to Allied forces as they advanced through Western Europe. This photo honors a United States Navy fighter ace and Medal of Honor nominee, one of the most decorated pilots of World War II. By the end of the war, he had downed 19 enemy planes in combat and destroyed 21 on the ground, ranking among the top aces of the US Navy. A Finnish military dog, likely used for reconnaissance or communication tasks, stands ready for duty during World War II. Dogs were employed by many armies during the war for their keen senses and loyalty in challenging conditions. An emotional Italian woman kisses the hand of a US Fifth Army soldier as American forces liberate Naples. This moment of gratitude highlights the relief felt by civilians after years of occupation as Allied forces advanced northward in Italy. Adolf Hitler reacts with visible shock after being kissed by Carla de Vries, a 40-year-old American woman, at the Berlin Olympics in 1936. De Vries impulsively kissed the dictator, later stating she found him friendly and gracious, in a bizarre and unscripted moment in history. This image shows a German soldier engrossed in a magazine, a brief respite from the horrors of war. Mail and reading material were vital for morale, providing soldiers with a mental escape from the front lines. An American soldier, dressed in his summer service uniform, mocks Adolf Hitler's mustache using a hair comb in 1944. Such humor was common among Allied troops, who used satire to cope with the stresses of combat and the iconic imagery of the Nazi regime. Women workers in Long Beach, California, meticulously groom the transparent noses of A-20J attack bombers at Douglas Aircraft. As men went off to fight, women took over critical roles in war production, assembling aircraft and other military equipment essential to the Allied war effort. In one of his final public appearances, Adolf Hitler decorates members of the Hitler Youth in front of the Chancellery bunker in Berlin. This photo, taken just 4 days before his suicide, represents the Nazi regime's desperation as Germany faced imminent defeat. A 16-year-old German soldier reacts after being captured by US forces in 1945. This series of images showcases his initial shock, realization, and eventual acceptance of his fate, symbolizing the human cost of war and the young lives that were drawn into the conflict. In this harrowing image, Polish women are escorted through a forest by German soldiers, moments before their execution in 1941. Scenes like this highlight the brutal atrocities committed by Nazi forces across occupied Europe during World War II. This image captures a moment during the pivotal Battle of El Alamein, as British and American forces charged toward a surrendering German soldier atop his tank. This battle marked a turning point in the North African campaign, with the Allies halting the advance of Axis forces under Field Marshal Rommel. Sitting amidst the wreckage of their home in London's eastern suburbs, children who were made homeless by the German Blitz await help. This scene highlights the impact of the relentless bombing campaign, which targeted civilians in an effort to weaken British resolve during the Battle of Britain. At the historic Tehran Conference, Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, US President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill strategized the next phases of the war against Nazi Germany. Their meeting was pivotal in shaping the Allied offensive and laying the groundwork for post-war geopolitics. Famed actress Ida Lupino served as a lieutenant in the Women's Ambulance and Defense Corps, where she was responsible for coordinating emergency responses throughout Los Angeles. From her home, she could reach every ambulance post in the city, aiding the war effort from behind the scenes. A French man and woman fight side by side, using captured German weapons during the liberation of Paris. This image captures the determination of civilians and resistance fighters as they took the fight to the Germans in the final days before the city's liberation on August 25, 1944. Men and women of all ages worked together to dig anti-tank ditches in Romania as Soviet forces closed in. This effort was part of a desperate attempt to slow the advance of the Red Army as World War II neared its end in Eastern Europe. Women and children, suffering from typhus, starvation, and dysentery, huddled together in the barracks of Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. This powerful image was taken just after the camp was liberated by British forces, bringing to light the horrific conditions endured by its inmates. A US Navy marksman takes aim with a .50 caliber machine gun aboard a motor torpedo boat off the coast of New Guinea. This striking image captures the intensity of the Pacific Theater, where naval operations played a pivotal role in the Allied victory. General Dwight D. Eisenhower delivers his famous "Full Victory, Nothing Else" speech to US paratroopers in England just before they embark on the first assault of the D-Day invasion. This moment marked the beginning of the Allied liberation of Nazi-occupied Europe. An RAF Lancaster bomber soars over the German city of Hamburg during a bombing raid. These strategic airstrikes were a key part of the Allied effort to cripple Germany's industrial capacity and hasten the end of the war. In Port Washington, New York, female students worked diligently to reproduce World War II propaganda posters. The master poster in the background serves as a guide for these young artists who are part of a broader effort to rally public support for the war and boost morale on the home front. In a heartwarming scene, a French civilian woman offers a drink of cider to a British soldier armed with a Bren gun in Lisieux. The liberation of France brought together soldiers and civilians in moments of shared relief and joy as the war's end approached. Technician 5th grade William E. Thomas and Private First Class Joseph Jackson prepare a special Easter egg basket for Hitler. This humorous gesture, made just months before the end of the war, reflects the soldiers' confidence in the impending Allied victory. On a Pacific beach, Marine PFC Raymond Hubert shakes out the sand from his boondocker after 3 days of combat. Using an unexploded naval shell as a seat, Hubert captures a moment of rest amid the relentless battle in the Pacific Theater. In this haunting image, French women accused of collaborating with the Nazis face public humiliation as their heads are shaved by French resistance fighters. This form of punishment was widespread during the liberation of France. Just days after the atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, Japan, the once vibrant city lies in ruins. The bomb killed an estimated 140,000 people, marking a tragic chapter in World War II and signaling the destructive power of nuclear weapons, which would shape global politics in the years to come. These SS women, shown shortly after the liberation of Bergen-Belsen, were notorious for their brutality. Like their male counterparts, they participated in the atrocities committed in Nazi concentration camps, where countless prisoners were subjected to unimaginable suffering. German soldiers, captured by the US 4th Armored Division, stand amid the debris of Bastogne, Belgium. This town was the site of the famous Siege of Bastogne, part of the Battle of the Bulge, where American forces held out against the last major German offensive of the war. The bodies of 7 American soldiers who were brutally shot by an SS trooper are recovered from the snow in January 1945. This grim image underscores the brutal nature of the war's final months as the Allies advanced into Germany, encountering fierce and often ruthless resistance. In this powerful photograph, an American soldier, killed by a German sniper, lies clutching his rifle and grenade in Koblenz, Germany. His tragic death highlights the dangers faced by soldiers even as the war neared its end, with fierce street fighting claiming many lives. An American soldier from the 12th Armored Division stands guard over a group of captured German soldiers in a forest in April 1945. As the war drew to a close, large numbers of German troops were taken prisoner by advancing Allied forces. Partly completed Heinkel He-162 fighter jets sit on an assembly line inside an underground Junkers factory in Germany, discovered by the 1st US Army during their advance on Magdeburg. This secret production facility represents Nazi Germany's last-ditch effort to create advanced weaponry as the war turned against them. In an emotional moment, a Czech mother kisses a Russian soldier in Prague after the city was liberated from Nazi control. The image captures the deep gratitude felt by civilians toward the soldiers who fought to free their country from occupation. During the nearly 900-day siege of Leningrad, citizens dipped for water from a broken main amidst the city's devastation. Despite heavy shelling and a complete blockade, the people of Leningrad endured unimaginable hardships, including starvation, as they resisted the German invasion. A Russian woman watches as buildings burn during the intense fighting between German and Soviet forces. This image captures the widespread destruction and personal suffering experienced by civilians during the brutal Eastern Front of World War II. In the summer of 1942, German soldiers cross a river on their tank during the invasion of Russia. Despite initial successes, the German advance into Soviet territory would eventually stall and be repelled, leading to heavy losses for the Wehrmacht. After months of fierce fighting at Stalingrad, a Soviet soldier stands guard over a captured German soldier. The surrender of the German 6th Army marked a major turning point in the war, with the Soviets gaining the upper hand on the Eastern Front. This dramatic scene captures 3 Soviet guerrillas in combat during World War II. These fighters were part of a vast network of Soviet resistance forces who played a crucial role in disrupting German supply lines and conducting sabotage operations against the occupying forces in the USSR. US soldiers from the 3rd Army storm into Koblenz, Germany, as one of their comrades lies dead against a wall. This image conveys the intense urban combat faced by Allied forces as they pushed deeper into Nazi territory during the final months of the war. In the midst of the Battle of Kursk, one of the largest tank battles in history, Red Army soldiers take cover in a trench as a T-34 tank rolls overhead. The Soviet victory at Kursk would solidify their momentum on the Eastern Front and begin the long push toward Berlin. Flames engulfed the deck of the USS Bunker Hill after it was struck by two kamikaze planes within 30 seconds off the coast of Kyushu, Japan. The attack resulted in the deaths of 346 sailors and wounded another 264. This striking image captures a formation of Boeing B-29 Superfortresses from the 73rd Bomb Wing flying over the iconic Mount Fuji in Japan. These planes played a critical role in the US bombing campaign against Japan, culminating in the atomic bombings that hastened the end of the war. A lone Japanese soldier walks through the completely leveled landscape of Hiroshima, Japan, a month after the atomic bomb was dropped. The once thriving city was reduced to rubble, symbolizing the catastrophic power of nuclear warfare and its long-lasting effects. Sergeant J. Dickinson from Canada and Sergeant F. Gilkers from Trinidad share a light-hearted moment before boarding their aircraft for a bombing raid over Hamburg. Their camaraderie exemplifies the diverse international nature of the Allied forces during World War II. In the aftermath of the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki, the only recognizable structure remaining is the ruined Roman Catholic cathedral on a destroyed hill. German Wehrmacht General Anton Dostler is tied to a stake before being executed by a US firing squad in Aversa, Italy. He was sentenced to death for ordering the execution of 15 unarmed American prisoners of war in 1944, marking one of the first high-profile war crimes trials after the conflict. In the Philippines, the first Women Guerrilla Corps was formed just before the outbreak of World War II in the Pacific. These Filipino women, trained by the local Women's Auxiliary Service, practiced their marksmanship at a rifle range as they prepared to defend their homeland against Japanese forces. A Japanese man stands amid the wreckage of his home in Yokohama, reduced to rubble and ash by Allied bombings. This image captures the destruction wrought on Japanese cities during the war, particularly through the widespread use of incendiary bombs. 1 year after the D-Day landings, German prisoners of war landscaped the first US military cemetery at Saint-Laurent-sur-Mer, France, near Omaha Beach. This solemn task reflects the shift from combat to remembrance as the war neared its conclusion. At 77 years old, Mrs. Paul Titus patrols her air raid beat with a rifle, having signed up for duty the day after Pearl Harbor. This image captures the spirit of home front determination as civilians of all ages volunteered for service to protect their communities from possible attacks. Jinpei Terravama, a survivor of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima, displays the lasting scars from the burns he sustained during the explosion. This image, taken 2 years after the bombing, serves as a reminder of the long-term physical and psychological toll of nuclear warfare. A US soldier examines a solid gold statue found among Hermann Goering's private loot in a mountainside cave near Schönau am Königssee, Germany. The cave also contained priceless stolen artwork, part of the massive Nazi plundering of Europe during the war. In a similar vein, a German soldier on the Eastern Front mocks Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. This image captures the rivalry and animosity between the Axis and Allied forces, particularly on the brutal Eastern Front. Australian troops display their typical humor with a sign reading, "If going much further, please take one." 3 US soldiers inspect bodies stuffed into an oven in a crematorium at an unidentified concentration camp in Germany shortly after its liberation. This chilling image is a stark reminder of the horrors of the Holocaust, uncovered by Allied forces as they liberated camps across Europe. Survivors of the Dachau concentration camp cheer American soldiers who liberated the camp in 1945. Some prisoners wear the striped blue and white garb of the camp, and their huts are decorated with flags of various nations, secretly made in anticipation of their freedom. Under the orders of the US 82nd Airborne Division, the citizens of Ludwigslust, Germany, were made to inspect a nearby concentration camp where the bodies of victims were found in mass graves. One pit alone contained 300 bodies, a grim reminder of the atrocities committed during the war. American soldiers who survived the sinking of their landing craft make it ashore at Omaha Beach using a life raft. These men were among the many who braved enemy fire during the D-Day landings, a crucial turning point in the liberation of Nazi-occupied France. In a makeshift sidewalk cafe in fallen La Haye-du-Puy, France, U.S. soldiers Robert McCurdy, Sergeant Harold Smith, and Sergeant Richard Bennett raise their glasses in a toast. This scene of camaraderie reflects a brief moment of respite. During the intense fighting in Normandy, in a light-hearted moment, a captured German officer gives a British soldier who appears to be overweight an appraising glance. This humorous interaction breaks the tension of war, highlighting the occasional human connections between enemies. An American officer and a French resistance fighter engage in a street battle with German forces during the liberation of an unknown French city in August 1944. The image captures the critical collaboration between Allied troops and local resistance movements in defeating the occupying forces. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill tours the Alamein area in the Western Desert during a visit to the Middle East. He met with brigade and divisional commanders and inspected Australian and South African divisions, emphasizing the importance of Allied cooperation in the North African campaign. A wounded German officer, discovered by British forces during the early days of their offensive in Egypt, is guarded by a sentry while awaiting evacuation. This photo highlights the brutality of desert warfare in North Africa. A bizarre sight, a German donkey, known as the Eselschreck, equipped with an anti-tank cannon during World War II. This unconventional method reflects the resourcefulness and desperation of the German forces as they faced increasing pressure from the Allies. Italian gunners man their light field artillery amid a field of cactus in Tunisia. Axis forces in North Africa faced increasing pressure from advancing Allied troops, eventually leading to the collapse of their control in the region. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, Commander-in-Chief in North Africa, shares a light-hearted moment with American soldiers during an inspection of the Tunisian battlefront. His leadership in the region was crucial in securing the Allied victory in North Africa. After the defeat of Axis forces in North Africa, Allied troops prepared for invasions of southern Europe. In this iconic image, a U.S. Air Transport Command plane, loaded with war supplies, flies over the pyramids at Giza, symbolizing the global reach of the Allied war effort. At North American Aviation's Inglewood plant in California, workers assemble the cowling for a B-25 bomber engine. This scene illustrates the immense industrial output of the United States, which played a decisive role in the eventual victory of the Allies. This harrowing photo, found on the body of a dead German officer in Russia, shows a German firing squad executing Soviet civilians at Babi Yar, a ravine in Kiev. Between 1941 and 1942, tens of thousands of Jews, prisoners, and civilians were murdered there, making it one of the most infamous sites of the Holocaust. A field loudspeaker is set up by Allied forces to broadcast propaganda aimed at German soldiers on the Eastern Front. Psychological warfare, including propaganda, was a critical tool used by both sides to demoralize enemy troops during the brutal conflict in Russia. American prisoners of war are forced to carry their wounded comrades during the infamous Bataan Death March. This photograph, taken by Japanese occupiers shows the suffering endured by US and Filipino soldiers under Japanese captivity after the falls of the Philippines. The USS Lexington, an American aircraft carrier, explodes after being hit by Japanese planes during the Battle of the Coral Sea. Over 200 crew members were lost in this pivotal naval battle, which weakened the Japanese fleet in the lead-up to the Battle of Midway. A German mother shields her son's eyes as they walk past exhumed bodies outside Sutrop. These bodies belong to 57 Russian prisoners killed by German SS troops. US 9th Army troops uncovered the mass grave, and German civilians were ordered to view the remains as part of the post-war denazification efforts. A group of Hitler youth receive instruction on how to operate a machine gun. As the war dragged on, the Nazi regime increasingly relied on indoctrinated youth to bolster its dwindling military forces, a tragic consequence of the total war doctrine. A view from Dresden's town hall shows the ruined old town after the devastating Allied bombings in February 1945. The intense firestorm, caused by over 3,900 tons of bombs, obliterated large parts of the city and resulted in the deaths of over 22,000 civilians. In a moment of post-war tranquility, an American soldier places his arm around a Japanese girl as they take in the surroundings of Hibiya Park, near the Tokyo Imperial Palace. This image reflects the early stages of reconciliation between former enemies after the war's end.